Good morning. Well, we get started here. If we could, let's open with a word of prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather today. Lord, we acknowledge that you have entrusted us to be the stewards of your creation. Please guide us. Please guide our hearts as we make our decisions, and may everything we do begin with your inspiration and continue with your help. We ask your guidance throughout this meeting, that all our thoughts and actions would reflect your holy will. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen. I have two quick reports. One is the results of the stewardship campaign for this year, and then the endowment fund, just to give you an idea of the status of the fund. For the 2024 stewardship campaign, the list of members who regularly pledge or give was reduced from 79 in 2023 to 55 for 2024. This was done strictly for budgeting purposes. It doesn't reflect all of the members or people who attend church here. But when we prepare a budget, we have to have some firm idea of how much income we'll have so that we know we can meet the goals for the programming that we have planned for the year. So that's really why that was done. The congregation once again faithfully pledged support for the church. For the most part, members either sustained their level of giving for 2023 or they increased giving. This year, increased giving offset decreased giving by almost $5,000. Even with fewer giving members in an uncertain future, we exceeded the total giving in 2023. The stewardship campaign exceeded 2023 by over $1,000 for a total of $146,795. With the elimination of the small group coordinator that was approved in the October congregational meeting, the amount we will need from the endowment fund to supplement the budget for 2024 will be over $10,000 less than it was for 2023. With respect to the status of the endowment fund, 2024 will mark the fourth year that we've had to supplement the church budget from the endowment fund. To date, we've taken $163,787 from the fund. In order to balance the 2024 budget, we will need $57,940 in additional money from the endowment fund. With recent positive market activity, endowment fund balance stands at $540,530 as of the close of trading on January 5th. And just to put in perspective how the changes in the markets can affect the fund, if you recall, those of you who were at the October 29th congregational meeting, we reported that the fund balance was $501,000. So just since the end of October to today, it increased by $39,000 as a result of positive market activity. At its peak in November 2021, the fund was valued at $736,124. While market volatility can contribute to somewhat of that reduction in value, it's largely due to the withdrawal of funds to supplement the budgets and then the resulting loss of investment income from those withdrawn funds. The only other disbursements from the endowment fund that were made during 2023 was the Robin's Nest Award. Does anyone, before we move on, have any questions about either the stewardship campaign or the endowment fund? Oh, okay. Yeah, we had a list of 79 members who have, over a period of time, either pledged or given to the church. But we went through that list, Libby and I and Eileen, and looked at those members who have consistently pledged or given that we can depend on so that we know how much income we'll have during the year, and reduce that list to 55. Basically, totally for budget purposes. It doesn't mean that those people were eliminated from the church rolls or anything like that. It's simply, from a practical standpoint, we need to know what income we're going to have in order to establish a viable budget. Other questions? Okay.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank all the volunteers that worked behind the scenes all last year. Practically everybody in here, and certainly many at home, volunteered to do something in the church. Even though the church is small, there's still a lot of jobs that need to be done, and I want to thank you all that have volunteered to do that for last year, and those of you who stepped up to continue or do it for this coming year, so thank you. We are blessed to have very active members, even though there's not a lot of us. And we're blessed to have consistory members that step up and are willing to do those leadership roles. And at the end of this meeting, we will be, two of them will be stepping down, and then we'll be bringing 2 new ones on. So we have been very blessed to have Marilyn Height. She has been with us for the 3 years, that is the term. She has been our secretary, and she was also on the personnel part of when it was the administrative team. We won't go into that. So Marilyn, if you just stand up for a second. Marilyn has been our secretary. And very good at being a secretary. She's very organized. She has good ideas. She's not afraid to speak up. And you can always count on her. If she says she's going to do something, she definitely does it. And it was a very positive force in our consistory team. The other member is Steve Hornwater, who will be stepping down, but he won't be going away, hopefully. So he is always there to work on our budget, keep us in line, knowing what we have, what we don't have, what we need to spend. You know, we always rely on him for all financial advice. So if you would stand up too, Steve. Now, he is retiring this year, and I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do with. He also pays all our bills, and his company pays our bills. So we'll have to see what that's going to be like, but regardless. So we are also very blessed to have 2 people who have volunteered to step into those roles. And Flora Polis is one. Flora, if you'll stand up briefly. So Flora also has very good ideas. She's quite creative. We're looking forward to having her on the committee. And Frank Geiger, who's in the back there. And Frank's background is in finance. He was on the finance committee when we had a finance committee before. And I know that he's used to, maybe still does, volunteers to help people with their taxes. You still do that, Frank? Yeah, okay. So he still does taxes for people. So he's up to date on, he was a math teacher, so that is his background. So he's very well qualified to step into the finance part of our consistory. So we're, again, very blessed to have qualified people who are willing to step up. Now, having said that, if any of you feel so moved to volunteer to be on the consistory. We only need 2 people, but this is a vote, so if someone else would like to put their name in the hat, if you would like to nominate someone else, this is the time to do that. Okay, so we have 2 great nominees, and we will, I will call a vote. So the vote is to elect Flora and Frank for the next term of consistory, which is 3 years. Any discussion on that? Probably not. All in favor? Aye. Raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, very good. So I'd also just like to report a couple things. In October, most of you were there at the October meeting that we had in the chapel, and we came away with two things in particular. And one was that we were forming a pastoral relations committee, and we have done that. So there are 3 people on that. So Marilyn and Steve are on that committee, along with Lynn McCourt. So they are continuing to be very active. And I was thinking about being on it, but since I'm on consistory, I'm not allowed to be on it. So, but we did have one training session so far. It was a Zoom meeting with Nora Faust, who is the associate conference minister. And so we had an hour and a half training session a month or so ago. And I don't want to speak for what they've done since then because I am not on the committee. So at some point, they will let you know more about it than I have to say right now. It is a committee that will help be there for Pastor Libby. It is help so that conflict doesn't get to a point that it causes a problem. Okay, we don't want people outside talking about things. That we want to have a place that you can bring your concerns to this group, and they will confidentially handle it or discuss it or do whatever they'll do about it. And I'll let them tell you more and what to do if you have any of these issues. But they will be there to support Pastor Libby and the congregation. Okay, so the second thing is we talked about next steps, what we might do. Maybe we would merge with another church, that we would look into that. So next week, next Sunday, the consistory, which will be the new consistory, will be meeting with Carrie Call, who is the conference minister, so she's the top one. She will be coming here, and she will probably worship with us as well, so you may all get to meet her. And then after church, we will be meeting with her, and she will explain to us, what we might do. I don't know what that will look like, but we'll definitely share that with you after the meeting at some point. And we will be there to ask questions, and she'll be able to answer all those that we have. So if you have any questions before that, you could, let us know, let one of us know that's on. So now consistory will be Flora and Frank and Mike and Frank up there and me and Shannon. So any of us can hear a question that you might have that we could ask Carrie when she is here next Sunday. Okay, I think that's all. So are there any questions for me? Dave? Okay. So just for those of you at home, I don't think you would have been able to hear very briefly. Dave was saying that one of the things we can ask Carrie Call about next week is some creative use of our building, that no matter what we do to plan early, that what we could possibly do, some new things that we haven't thought of that we could do with this building, regardless of our worship status. Anyway, that's as close as I can get it. Okay, Steve, thank you.
All right, hit me with your best shot. Good morning, everyone. What we did after the stewardship campaign, we went back and adjusted some numbers based on the various recommendations that came through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different line items changed from our October presentation prior to the stewardship campaign. The first one is the envelope giving was adjusted to the stewardship campaign total of $146,795, which, as Mike stated, is over $1,000 more than what came through from our 2023 campaign. Going down to fund the difference on the income side, we inserted the $57,940 of endowment fund operational monies to finance our expenses. The expenses that changed on the disbursement side, the elimination of the small group coordinator position of $10,000. Multimedia production was reduced by $6,500 as Frank had generously offered to do that on a pro bono basis. So that was a significant savings, and we certainly appreciate Frank's efforts there. On the insurances, the workers' comp insurance was reduced by $197 due to the fact that the premium came in a little lower than what we anticipated. And the same thing with the building insurance was reduced to $8,200. We were projecting an increase that might have taken it to about $9,000, but it was $8,219 was the final premium number that came through. So I think that accounts for all the items that were adjusted, and I can certainly get a copy printed out for anybody that wants one, or forward a PDF file copy. In the end, our projected budget is $231,000 and $231,035 of income and $231,035 of anticipated disbursements. So we have a balanced budget, and I'll open the floor up for additional questions. Our question was, how long have we been dipping into the endowment fund? And I think Mike stated it's been the last 4 years. Our question or concern is whether we should have started looking at alternative uses for the building prior to when we started pulling money out of the endowment fund to fund the budget. And that's a valid question. I think we've talked about that, and then we sort of hit a wall, which was called COVID-19. And that sort of limited bringing in large groups of people when we had to be concerned about community spread of a disease. So it's not that we're not also looking at that now, but as everyone looks around, you can certainly see that our membership is not spring chickens anymore, and so our membership has been in decline for more than the last 4 years, actually. But that certainly impacts our membership total. So that is another one of the reasons for our decline in gross revenue. I can recall going back to a time when our budget was over $250,000 in expenditures in a given year. So, and we funded it totally from membership contributions. So, any additional questions? Yes. So just to repeat it for those at home that might be listening, if additional funds come in over and above what we have or have left over at the end of the year, if we bring in 231 and only spend, say, 225,000, that $5,000 goes into reserves, and that can be utilized to reduce the following year's contributions. It doesn't go back to the endowment fund per se, but it would be a reduction in any future needs to fund the budget for the next coming year.
And what about fundraisers? Was that discussed at the October meeting? They said I wasn't there, I'm sick.
She asked if we had discussed fundraising at the October meeting, and I off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but we certainly have discussed those kinds of things in the consistory meetings. And so in as much as fundraisers are wonderful activities, it also requires a good deal of manpower, and so we would need additional resources from the congregation as far as manpower to make those kind of events happen. So all valid questions, and we're willing to look at all of those things, because it's kind of a, you know, here's where we are, and it's whether we're going this way or whether we're going to start going back up the other way. So, but again, I think everybody in this congregation is involved in some way or another in the workings of the church, and so any new activity would certainly involve additional time commitment from the community at large. So, yes, Libby. Pastor Libby indicated that there are individuals who have done individual fundraising, such as yard sales and those kinds of things. So, but yes. All other things being equal, is there a motion to approve the budget as indicated? Is there, and we have a second from Frank. And so, oh yeah, Frank Geiger. Don't want to get our Franks mixed up. So let's put that out there for a vote. All those who favor or approve of the budgets signify by saying aye. Aye. Those who are opposed? And any abstentions? Well, I guess that's just one of those things you're supposed to ask. So budget's approved. I have to look at the agenda to see what comes next. Looks like there's an adjournment. Go forth and serve the people, love God, and Happy New Year.